You're listening to Soundside. I'm Libby Dankman. What do you think of when you see Mount Rainier? For me, it's, oh wow, I can see the mountain. It must be really clear out today. The weather must be great, pretty. Some people, though, look at its snow capped peaks and see a challenge, a life goal, something they may climb one day, braving cold and oxygen deprivation, to be able to say they've done it. And then there is my next guest, who looks at Mount Rainier as something to absolutely dominate. That's what Simon Kearns did a couple weeks ago when he set a new speed record for climbing Washington State's tallest peak on foot. He traveled the nearly 9,000 vertical feet to the summit and back in 3 hours, 43 minutes, and 52 seconds. That shattered the previous record by more than half an hour. Simon Kearns joins me now to tell us all about it. He's a mountain guide at RMI Expeditions. Simon, welcome to Soundside and congratulations.
Thanks so much. Happy to be here.
So you are 26 now. You just turned 26. You were 25 when you set the record. But you do have extensive experience here. Your parents were mountain guides around the Rockies, I understand. And you did your first summit when you were just 4 years old with them. And you were running trail races by the time you were 12. So when did Mount Rainier become a goal for you?
Yeah, I think I first started thinking about Rainier kind of right when I got into like mountain running specifically. So close to 15 years ago now, a little bit less than that probably. And um, I like was into trail running and mountain running and saw a video of this guy Dakota Jones going for the record and got pretty inspired. And so spent over a decade thinking about it.
And when did it evolve into the speed record as the goal? Because you summited for the first time in 2024 with some friends. When did that morph into, I can do this in record time?
I think in some ways it was like kind of always the goal. Like I raced a lot growing up and kind of like not my first experiences climbing mountains, but pretty early on was like trying to see how fast I could go on like my local peaks. And so with something like Rainier, like when I went and climbed it with friends, it was like to check out the route, and I ended up going for the record just a couple days later, which I obviously didn't get that time, but it was definitely like at least I was in the back of my head, like the goal for it.
So, for somebody who has never attempted something like this, and we'll set the speed record aside for now, how long does it typically take to do, and what are they geared up with?
Yeah, so our at least like for guided clients, and this is also like most independent parties are on a similar schedule. The actual climbing takes 2 days. So you go up to Camp Muir the first day, and then oftentimes you get a couple hours of sleep, but not like a full night. And then you do the upper mountain and then come all the way back down to Paradise. So 2 full days of climbing pretty much with like a little break in between to eat dinner and try to sleep a bit. And it's normally like a full-on mountaineering, like you're in crampons and like high altitude boots, and you have your big parkas and ice axe, and we're roped up as a team. And yeah, so it's a full-on mountain. Like you're doing some not technical rock climbing, but technical climbing in the sense that you're roped up and crossing glaciers, and oftentimes we'll like lower clients through sections, and so it's a full-on peak for sure.
And for you, again, this is a 2 day climb that you just did in under 4 hours. What was the gear that you brought? And did you even like pause at Camp Muir? Did you just kind of wave and run on by?
Yeah, so my gear was quite a bit different for something like this. I think the big difference is I wasn't worried about getting cold because I was moving quickly enough that you're just like not in the cold area for very long. And so I was mostly focused on weight. So I had a pair of they're called the Arc'teryx Norvin shoe. They're like 6 ounces, and then I had micro spikes instead of full crampons, and then just ski poles instead of an ice axe. Which most of that was like a calculation of I'd climbed that same route quite a bit that week. I'd been up 2 days before I went for it and felt like comfortable with the conditions to go light. I did have like safety stuff in my pack, so I had like a down jacket and some down booties, like in case something did happen, I would be relatively sheltered from the elements. Yeah, but besides that, yeah, just like I didn't stop anywhere. I like going through Camp Muir was super nice because I had a group of friends that were just like on a personal day out skiing and they were cheering me on. And then I stopped at the summit for maybe like 30 seconds just to chat with some of the folks on top and then turned it around and ran back down.
That's crazy to only stop for 30 seconds at the summit of Mount Rainier. It's like a lifetime achievement for many people. Um, you mentioned that you have been climbing for a while. This wasn't the first time that you attempted the speed record on Rainier. It's also not the first time you broke a speed record. You broke the record on Mount Hood's Southside route in 2023. Why do you pursue this? Like, what drives you to say, I can do this the fastest?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to just like being competitive. I really like racing, like doing standard running races, but they're often what inspires me about like peaks like Rainier and Hood and some of the other ones that I'd like to go for someday are like they're more technical than what you could do in a race. Like it's just like with insurance and the danger level, like you couldn't have like races going on these peaks. I got some like comments about how like I'm rushing so I don't like get to like experience the mountain and stuff and I disagree because like one of the best things about like going for these FKTs is I spend a ton of time on the mountain beforehand. So Rainier obviously with guiding and skiing and stuff it's like I spend every day up there, but same with Mount Hood. Like I wasn't planning on going for the record. I was just climbing it every day for a couple weeks pretty much, and like by the end of it, I was like, oh, I know the route really well. And so like normally it's like a place that I know super well and intimately, and it's just like a way to like kind of push myself and be competitive, but like doesn't take away from experiencing the mountain in other ways.
FKT, fastest known time for people who are not mountaineering running experts. Um, did you have to train in a special way for this? I mean, you attempted once and you got stuck behind a guided climbing group, and so you lost some time there. And then another time you attempted, you were just shy of the record. You figured you need more training. So what does that training look like to lead you to smash the record by 30 minutes?
Yeah, so this winter I was doing like all my training on skis. I was like mostly looking at going for the ski record on Rainier, which is a little bit different. So just like a ton of volume, skinning up and down mountains. And I actually hired a coach in March. Hired, he's like one of my good buddies, but so it was like the first time since high school that I've had structured training. So mostly focused on like volume. So I was doing like 20, 25 hours a week. And then I would do two workouts a week as well, like interval. So you're pushing, up into like threshold and as hard as you can go for like 20 minutes.
Are you on a stair climber? Are you on an incline? Are you out in the wild actually running trails? Like, how are you doing it?
Yeah, some time on Stairmasters, but pretty little. Most of the time it's just, it would like 90% of my training was just like skiing in the mountains. So some of that was at ski resorts, but most of the time just like out in the mountains and with friends. So
So you're just backcountry hiking up and simulating what it's like to be, on a serious climb.
yeah, exactly. Or and doing, other big peaks and
Yeah.
I was in the Alps for a lot of that, so there's a lot of big mountains to play around on there.
Can you kind of take us there as somebody who literally ran Mount Rainier? What does that feel like? From the moment you drive into the Paradise parking lot, you've got, your gear, you got your pack on, you're heading out. Like, can you describe the journey, what it sounds like, what it looks like, even what it smells like? Like, just for somebody who's never been there before.
Yeah. I think obviously it's a bit different like running it. All of those senses kind of change. I was I sent you guys the playlist, but I was listening to French reggae the whole time. Which for whatever reason this spring has been my go-to for hard efforts. Um,
Why, by the way, why French reggae?
I did most of my training in France in the French Alps, and like it was just like skiing with like all the people that grew up there, like these like amazing French skiers and stuff. And anytime we were skinning or like hiking up the mountains, they would like put it on a speaker, which normally I don't love when people are playing music over a speaker in the mountains, but for whatever reason, it just worked well and got me pretty hooked.
That's great. Okay, so it sounds like French reggae, but then what does it look like? What does it smell like? What are you seeing like while you're running up the mountain?
Yeah, the sad thing with going fast, I know I kind of just contended that I get to enjoy the mountains in other ways, but like most of it is just like looking down at my feet and then like the occasional look up at the mountain and it was nice. I started right at sunrise, so I did get like a very beautiful like sunrise glow off to the east and um but yeah, I find that like for me when I am trying to go fast, I'm mostly like just focused like on looking at my feet, like making sure I'm not slipping um and you're like drinking high carbs, so there's like always like the sugar fatigue coming on with like the taste and um yeah, I think the uphill was like just like a very focused, like you kind of like narrow vision, but the nice thing for the downhill is like I was able to like enjoy it a bit more and I had like a number of friends that were out doing stuff on the mountain that day, so I was chatting and taking in the views. There's like amazing views the whole time coming down of like Little Tahoma and the Tatoosh Range and Mount Adams. So yeah, like very good sensory experience.
I saw the photos and some of the video of you just like on the ground in tears once you got back to paradise and, just knowing that you had set the record. You had just been through this huge monumental effort. Um, you had done this thing that you'd set your goal for and you tried a couple times and then you finally accomplished it. Like what were you feeling in that moment?
Yeah, I think like a lot of it was relief. Um, it was like I was super happy right away, but like yeah, I tried quite a few times and I there wasn't really outside pressure, but there's definitely a lot of internal pressure to finally get it. So yeah, the whole like the last like 10 minutes running down the trail, I was crying. I like got to the parking lot and started crying and I had like one of my best friends was there watching and so it was like really nice chatting with him and my parents called me shortly after. So it was all like very happy, but definitely like a relief is I would say like the first emotions.
Were they worried about you at all? I don't want to be too, too momish here, but Simon, your parents were mountain guides, so did they just like stay really chill when you do these kinds of things, or were they concerned?
They definitely get concerned. I think honestly like stuff not that Rainier isn't dangerous, but compared to a lot of the other stuff I do, it's relatively safe. So I think like days like that, they're actually like not too worried. But our deal for the most part is like I don't tell them that I'm going to do something before I do it. Um, and that way, like, I always tell someone, but it's always like a friend instead of my parents. And so that way they're not thinking about it during their days.
Oh, great. They find out afterwards. Okay,
Yeah.
so you've set the record for Mount Rainier under 4 hours. Just an incredible accomplishment. Simon Kearns, what is next for you?
Yeah, so next is I'll just be focused on guiding for the summer. I'll race a little bit, but primarily, yeah, just like trying to make a good mountain experience for everybody else that I climb with. And I think towards the end of the summer, I'll refocus on maybe a few FKT attempts on different mountains. But yeah, it's just back into the daily grind of guiding.
Simon Kearns, mountain guide at RMI Expeditions. He's now the record holder for climbing Washington's tallest peak, Mount Rainier, 9,000 vertical feet, 3 hours, 43 minutes, and 52 seconds. Amazing accomplishment. Thank you so much, Simon, for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Great chatting.
Enfant du numérique, hypnotisé par les écrans, la culture de l'image qu'on impose à nos enfants. Enfants du numérique, agressés tout le temps, ils nous dictent et influencent nos comportements. Constater une foudroyante évolution depuis ces 10 dernières décennies. Génération de l'imprimé à la culture du tactile, contrôlant notre époque avec frénésie. Pour chaque période, l'homme s'adapte et se modernise. Une perversion camouflée pour étendre son emprise.
Thanks for listening to Soundside. Don't forget you can listen live on KUOW 94.9 FM Seattle at noon and 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, or anytime online at KUOW.org or on your favorite podcast app.